my perspective. My perspective is as such. It's changed over the past couple of days. I'd say immediately after that game, I was kind of pissed off. Just on my feelings of the whole situation. How the first tech went down is more so than the second tech were my initial feelings. And anger uh, that came from the situation. As I sat and I thought about the situation and reassessed, as I had time to let the whole thing marinate and digest, I was dead ass wrong. Um, and not uh, that I was wrong, like I said, for the first tech per se, but once, whatever that situation is, once I had the first tech, I can't get the second tech. And so I was a bit disappointed. I'm still a bit disappointed in myself because, I think that whole situation bothered me. I know for sure it did. It bothered me more than being suspended from Game 5 of the NBA Finals in 2016. Um, and the reason it bothered me more than that is because, you can have your thoughts on the Game 5 situation. I for sure have my thoughts on the situation. Um, but this situation in particular, I had complete control over. And, you know, I let that control get away from me. And in turn, I let the game get away from myself and my teammates. And I think the reason it bothered me more was because obviously, like I said, your thoughts are your thoughts on the Game 5 situation. My thoughts are my thoughts. But, this young team, you know, winning an NBA game is not easy. Uh, and this young team has not had the guys on this team has not had much experience with winning, and so to take the game away from my teammates, and which they worked so hard for, was a bit frustrating for me, um, because I let them down. And another reason it was a bit frustrating for me, I think, when I think of the whole entire picture of all of this, if you type in Draymond Green uh, before, when was that game? Saturday.
Yeah.
Um, the first clip you'll see is me talking about the Drummond situation. And so to go from that situation to like what the next thing would be if you see of me, it's like two completely total different ends of the spectrum. And that's where the disappointment for me lies, and just kind of letting my emotions get the best of me and going from one of the most powerful statements in NBA history to like that uh, is embarrassing, And so that's kind of where the disappointment comes from for me, uh, is letting my teammates down, and then that, uh, you know, the the difference in those two situations. I'm much better than that, and at I'm a completely different person than I was at 30. I mean, at 25 than I am at 30. And so when I look at the person who I am today, that should never happen. Uh, and so, in saying that, I can admit my faults and when I'm wrong, and I was wrong, and I have to do what I have to do to make that up to my teammates. And I don't mean, obviously, uh, like I told the guys, I appreciate the support um, of me, but that action does not warrant support. With support from teammates comes a responsibility, and I let that responsibility go. And so to think that, just because they are my teammates and they deserve, I do have their support, don't necessarily mean I was deserving of it in that situation, because I wasn't. And so I'm very appreciative of them, and I owe them.
Dre, Mark Haynes from Clutch Points. How difficult after the two losses or whatever? How like fans love to dehumanize the athlete. How difficult is it to sit here and talk about those issues after it happens?
To sit and talk about the issues after it happened?
Yeah,
With who?
with the media.
Oh, not difficult at all. You know, I could have spoke to you guys after that game, but like I said, I wanted to take time and kind of let my thoughts marinate. Because the answer you would have got from me, that the day after that game would be completely different from the answer you just got. So it's not necessarily that it's tough. I just think as human beings, as a human, a part of being a human being is having emotions, and so immediately after that game, I'm extremely emotional, and I just didn't want to talk from an emotional state. And so it's not necessarily hard from the standpoint of getting up there and talk, but you know I just didn't want to talk from an emotional state. I wanted to sit back and kind of assess the entire situation and kind of let my thoughts develop, as opposed to hopping in front of a microphone 10 minutes after a very high emotional situation.
Hi, Jay. Carlos Ramirez, NBC Bay Area and Telemundo. How do you make sure you keep yourself on check for the future? And do you think you're a better leader now after that happened?
I think anytime you go through some things in life, you come out better on the other side. So I 100% think I'll be better. As far as controlling my emotions, I know how to control my emotions. I let them get the best of me that day, but as someone who could get 15 texts every year and never cross that line, I think I know how to control my emotions pretty well.
Draymond, when you look at your position on this team, there's no David West. There's no like a bunch of OGs. You're now the OG of this team. How did that impact how you reflected on what happened in the game?
I think it heavily impacts it. Just not having those older vets per se to kind of give you that perspective. You just have to find it. And saying that it's a completely different situation than I became accustomed to being in or being a part of. But you just have to find it, and it's all a part of growth. You're not going to stay the young guy forever. I think one thing's for certain in this life is we all get older. And that's just the nature of it. And so you just have to make that adjustment.
Did you talk to someone, Dre, get perspective? Did someone give you a call, maybe a former coach or a teammate, to talk about what happened?
I talked to a lot of people, but that's not where my perspective came from. My perspective kind of came from the thoughts and feelings that I had within. That's where my perspective came from.
What's your sense on where this team? You mentioned the support from your teammates. What did that support? How did they give you that support? What was it like in the locker room after in the next day?
We discussed what we discussed in the locker room. I think you could kind of see the support and talking with you guys. And yeah, that support is that support. But any other questions? I've said what I got to say about that situation.
Yeah. What do you think about where this team is right now? I mean, obviously you're coming off 2 deflating losses. There have been bright spots within those losses. 16 and 15, getting the centers back. Just what's your general thought on where this team is?
I think this team is getting better. Definitely 2 losses, that we should have had, both of them. And saying that, we didn't get either one of them. So you move forward. But overall, I like where this team is at. I think, the improvement that we've shown on both ends of the ball, and being a top 5 defense in the league now, I think, that shows the improvement in focus level and commitment of this team. And then also, I think to go out and compete and, play. I mean, obviously, 2 days ago, we played that game without Steph and to still have an opportunity to win that game. Says a lot about the growth of this team, because I'm not sure, even 2 weeks ago, it would be that same result. So it's, I think this team is getting better, and, hopefully that'll start to show in the win-loss column.
Draymond, offensively, where is your confidence? I'm of the mind that sometimes in the games you're taking your man, you're going coast to coast, you're hitting a big three, and other times you're throwing your hands up. It feels like you have it sometimes and you don't. Like, how would you assess the confidence in your offense?
I think, there are times I think it's more of just me staying aggressive than confidence at this point. I'm confident as hell at this point. I think it's kind of the mindset, and essentially staying aggressive. When I get by a man and completely blow blind and possibly miss the shot, like not letting that affect the aggressiveness that I play with. And so I think when you kind of see me throw my hands up, it's obviously more so out of frustration. But in saying that, I think the most important thing for me is just to stay aggressive more so than worry about like, oh, where my confidence is here. Like I'm confident. I feel great about my game. It's just staying aggressive and kind of keeping that mindset, that attack mind, that mindset of attacking.
Just so I can get terminology right.
What, Marcus?
Sorry, just so I get terminology right. What is it then that stops you from being aggressive if it's not a lack of confidence?
I think picking and choosing those spots. When you play a certain way for so long, it's not easy to just kind of turn that mindset back on of like attacking. And so I think more so just kind of tapping back into that. It's just a completely different mindset in entering the game with it. It takes a little while for me to kind of just get that back all the time. And so, making that adjustment, but it's, I feel good about where I'm at.
With so many games in the NBA season.
Monty, last question. Go ahead. Last question.
You never want to emphasize one game as being a quote unquote big game or anything, but there's a lot of talk about this road trip being a kind of a time for you guys to generate some momentum. Having lost those first two games, does that sort of make these next few games even that more important to you?
I think anytime you lose a couple games, you want to stop the bleeding. And so, yes, they are very important. These next two are very important. In trying to win these two and, finish this road trip all 2-2. Head back home for a game and just, continue to try to build some momentum. So I think, these two games are very important.
Cool. Thank you, sir.